Hello, welcome to JenPenCreations. I'm Jen. Today I'm back with my best friend Greg, and we are going to talk about an experience that he had personally, just him. It was a time in our childhood when he wasn't living near me. He lived a couple of towns away. We were still friends, but it wasn't like it is today where you can just get on Facebook and say hi to somebody through Messenger or something. Back then, my mom we didn't have a phone. She didn't like technology, so we didn't have a phone or cable TV or anything like that. And so with him living so far away from me, I wasn't there. I wasn't there to even help him out or be there for him. This is a story of an out-of-body experience that he had. It's actually his very first out-of-body experience. If you've ever experienced that, let me know. I've never experienced that. I've never been out of my body or had any of that kind of experience. This kind of stuff terrifies me. So stay with me, and me and Greg, we're going to get right to it.
So it was 1995. Some weird things were happening to me. I had no explanation. I have two parents that I wouldn't call them conservative, but I would definitely call them old school, young, and a lot to learn. Because I think I'm older now, right now, than they were then. I didn't really have anyone I could talk to. What was happening, I later learned, was something called astral projection. I never heard of that. I had never read about it. It sounded nuts. I remember Cyndi Lauper's character on a 80s movie, I think, called Vibes. And I remember she had something like that. But I never looked at that and said, gee, I need to go out and get me some. I didn't understand it when I was watching it. But apparently it's kind of close to that. And I wish my experiences were more magical and sparkly, but they're not. I don't know what was happening. Maybe I was just going through some bad hormonal change. Maybe I was really unhappy at home at the time. And so the only person I could talk to about the astral projection was my grandma. That's what it's called, what it is, and that some people do this. It was also revealed to me that my mother was doing that as a teenager. She did hers, I think, at 12 or 13. The first time it happened to me, I was 15. So like most boys and girls in gender, I guess boys are a little behind. And on my prettiest day, I'm still a boy. So I was a little behind, but it happened to me. And the thing that really peeves me is that a lot of the things I shared, I was treated as though I was nuts. And I just couldn't believe that you have all this information that you're hiding from me. I don't want to use this term because maybe I'm being dramatic, but it's almost like a form of psychological abuse. Why would you withhold that from me? Tell me what the hell is happening. But after talking about this, learning a little bit more of what it was, but I didn't know why or how I was doing it. And I didn't learn that until much, much, much later. And I still don't have all the answers. I just recently learned something about grounding. And that's why I experienced a good portion of what I experienced when I would come out was because I didn't know about grounding and I wasn't grounding my. Grounding also helps me prevent it from happening if I start slipping into that, which most of the time I was slipping into that involuntarily. And not everything to report about the experiences were magical or mystical or dark or light or whatever. And sometimes I'd just come out and see my damn shoes at the foot of the bed. So yeah, it was a little bit traumatizing. And there's a lot to learn. I'm just learning about me doing this and what it is, and still don't have the whys or the hows or anything of that. I was very close with my grandma. My grandma was reprieve for me. I didn't have you, my best friend, there living down the street or across the other side of town. It was just my grandma who lived nearby us. So I'd walk over to my grandma's. I'd spent a lot of time with her. and I miss her dearly. She was a pretty strong and powerful woman, too. And maybe that's another story sometime. So I'm sitting in the living room where her and I would usually visit. She always had the two recliners, the end table, the ashtray, and the big old gaudy ass fancy lamps with the tassels. So I'm sitting there, I'm watching MTV, and my grandmother's like, she's in the kitchen. She says, I'll be right back. I've got something for you. So she goes in the kitchen, disappears. I'm just watching MTV, so I don't know, she's going to make me something to eat. Usually she would feed, back then I was a stick, as you well remember. She comes back about 15, 20 minutes later with a real sparkly looking makeshift box. And I don't mean she got wood and carved it or nailed it or anything. I'm talking like some type of real thick crafting material. And then she coated it in another crafting material that was almost like mother of pearl. It was real pretty. Mother of pearl and shiny in different colors, depending on where the light hit it. She said to me, she said, Greg, to stop you from having these experiences at night that are messing with your mind all day long, because now you're wondering what happened, what were those things you seen, blah, blah, blah. Let's just keep it from happening. And then you could sleep at night. I said, well, what do I do with this? She said, just put it under your pillow and sleep with it every night. I said, okay. And I asked her, I said, well, what'd you put in that, Grandma? And she said, I put a prayer in there for you. Keep it in there. Don't open the box. Keep it under your pillow. Sleep with it every night. So I did. And the thing is, and you know me and I know you, and we're very logical people. So not everything is an omen. Not everything's a sign. Not everything's magic or evil or a ghost. Sometimes shit just is what it is. And you and I are always looking at the logical thing first because A, it helps us not be freaked out. That maybe some of that scary shit might be something we can't explain, but usually most of the time things make sense. Okay. So maybe it was placebo. We'll go with that. Makes no sense in the middle of a supernatural story. But anyway, I believe maybe it was placebo, but whatever it was, it worked. So fast forward about 3, 4 weeks. I'm not good with my timing. Could have been around that. It could have even been 6 weeks. But my grandmother had given me a whole carton of cigarettes, which is why I sound like this. But anyway, and I've got one right now. I keep having to relight it though, because it's those things that keep going out. But anyway, she gave me a whole carton of cigarettes. My parents knew I was smoking. They just said, don't let me catch you. Okay, now mind you, Mom and I, we butted heads a lot because Mom was, no, I mean, she got pregnant with me at 17, had me at 18. She was still a kid herself. So we fought like brother and sister, even though she's my mom. Honestly, we loved each other, but hated each other at the same time. So we had kind of a sibling rivalry thing. It was kind of weird. Mom decided she was going to invade my privacy, go through my room, went into my dresser where I hid all my cigarettes, found them because I was at school or somewhere. I come home, that whole carton of cigarettes is open, and the cigarettes are broken on the middle of my bedroom floor. And we had a semi full basement, and it was 2 rooms divided by a half a wall. So it was kind of a doorway, a little bit. And the other room was my brother's, and then there's my room. I got into it with Mom that day over the cigarettes, and she's like, I found these in your room. Why would you hide this from me? Acting like she didn't know I had cigarettes. She was picking a fight for some bullshit reason. She called my grandma, her mom, and jumped her ass for giving me a whole carton of cigarettes. Looking back now, I do realize that my grandma did not say what my mom said she said at the time. But at the time, I was young. And I believed what my mom told me. And she said to me, I called my grandma and confronted her about the cigarettes, and she's pissed off at you. I told her that you ratted her out when I didn't. But this is what my mom said to me. But my mom was being a brat, to be nice. And so I was pissed off at my grandma because apparently, according to my mom, my grandma had said, well, that Greg, he's trouble. He's always trying to get me in trouble, or, you don't need to come over here anymore. And that hurt my feelings and pissed me off because that's my grandma. We're really close and I love her. So that night I went to bed pissed off at her. And when I saw the box, I took it. I threw it across the room. I remember it hitting the stairs. that you go up to get into the actual level of the house, main level. So I threw it at the steps. And I remember actually I said out loud, fuck you. So I go to bed. I keep in mind at the foot of my bed, there's a little window and it was cracked. It wasn't broken or anything, but you can see the line, the crack. And in that window, there's a orb spider, one of those big, ugly, kind of pretty actually, but creepy, giant yellow orb spiders. And it made itself a web on the outside of my bedroom window at the foot of my bed. I'm just giving you the narrative of what things look like when it happened because it doesn't really play a role in anything. I think I fell asleep. Maybe it was one of those lucid dreams where I was dreaming about dreams. But either way, I saw coming at me with my grandmother. This is gonna get nuts. I saw my grandmother coming through my bedroom window at me. I'm laying on my back, which is odd because I usually sleep on my side. I've been a side sleeper my whole life. Grandma's coming through the freaking window, like flying through it. She was in her nightgown. There was nothing mystical or magical or different looking about her. It was grandma. Her hair did look a little more wild. And she had this her nightgown on, which was usually just a standard old lady's silk or uh, satin nightgown with like little doily or ruffles or whatever. Very basic but pretty. And it's just the tail was just flapping like this behind her, the tail of the uh, nightgown, but she had no legs. And she comes through the window at the foot of my bed. She comes towards me and she's got her hands, and the only thing I've ever seen that reminds me of that, which I think came out years later, was Nancy from The Craft. No, it was all of them. It was her and the other three ganging up on Sarah. When they came and they were like, Sarah, Sarah. And that's kind of what she was doing to me, but she wasn't speaking. She had a very, think of the Joker smile, but it's just creeping the hell out of you because it's not a pleasant smile, it's evil. It looked like her, but the expression was odd and not in a good way. And she grabs my neck and she's squeezing really hard. And I'm stuck. I don't know if I was out of my body. I don't know if I was still in it. Maybe I was halfway in between. We later learned was called old hag syndrome. So I'm stuck in my body with no power to do anything. That's not like I'm fighting to get back in my body and wake up because I wasn't completely out of it. And she's choking me really hard. I remember believing when that happened that I was going to die. And I remember trying to fight her and move and plead with her, and I just couldn't. She was so damn strong. And I didn't even know what the hell was happening to me, much less how to deal with something like that. And I just remember how strong she was. Very, very strong. I could not overpower her. And I just reached in, man, like the depths of me, and I had pulled something out pretty damn hateful. Now, mind you, when you're out of your body or stuck, your body ain't doing the moving or anything. It's you, it's your spirit. And so I couldn't speak. These lips here were on this face and body that were sleeping. But my other proverbial, this sounds real nice, proverbial lips. Anyway, it's your mind. All the talking and everything you do is with your mind. And so there's nothing coming out. You're screaming help, but it ain't coming out. It's in here. And I pulled something and I remember what it was pure hatred and rage. And mentally I looked her in the eyes and it was the complete opposite of everything I am made of and stand for. It wasn't even in my heart. I don't know where I found it, but I did. It was in there. And I pulled it out and I looked at her and it's like it just forced this hate out of me and anger at her. And when I did that, I'm not even going to say the horrible thing I said to her, but I thought spoke it. If you've ever seen Edward Scissorhands and you remember when he's his maker, which was played by Vincent Price, was doing this, They're having their little moment. And then Vincent Price has a heart attack and his face changes. In the moment that his face changes is exactly what my grandmother's face did or her apparition, when I looked at her, and that came out of my mind. That's what her face did. And then she was vacuumed backwards out of my room the way she came in, but it was like in fast forward, like, through the window, and then poof, gone. I wake up. Typically, when I'd have these crazy outer body experiences, I get scared and run up the stairs and sleep on the couch. It got to a point where mom knew why I was up there. And it was affecting my brother too. My brother was somehow feeling what I was feeling when I was coming out. And I think that had to do with my energy and the grounding thing I wasn't aware of at the time. That I didn't run up the stairs. I was so exhausted from what had just happened. I just kind of, zonked out, like passed out almost. Mom would come to the top of the steps every morning and yell at me and my brother to wake up. It's time for school. So was just a regular morning. I wasn't going to go into what had happened with my parents. Well, my dad never believed any of this anyway. At least he says he don't. I think he does. I don't understand the denial. I didn't want to get into it with mom because I knew anything I had said would get back to grandma. And I loved grandma. I was mad at her, but I loved her and I didn't want any wedges between us. So I kept it to myself. I wasn't going to tell anybody. But it made me, for the first time in my life, not trust my grandma and fear her because I knew it had happened. Even though it didn't happen, it did. I'm in the bathroom. I don't even think I looked in the damn mirror to comb my hair. I probably had a spike or a buzz or something. So I just threw clothes on. I was ready to walk down the driveway and get on the bus. And as I'm leaving the bathroom to cross the hallway and go into the living room where we were going to walk out the front door, mom stops me in the doorway and she gasps like, and then she says, "What the hell happened to you?" I said, "What? Nothing." She's like, "You can't go to school. No, you're staying home. Who did that?" I said, "What?" I had handprints on both sides of my neck. Just literally like the thumbs, just like, or maybe it was more like that.
Oh my
I
God.
can't remember. I had perfect, apparently, this is the weird part, as if everything else, I'm OCDing and focusing on the science and not the other crazy shit I just said. But the part that really beguiled me was that when she's like, "Go look in the mirror." I looked in the mirror and I saw it with myself. I saw the fingers. They were bruises. And there was even whelping around the fingers. But the bruising was yellow, like it purple yellow, like it was there for a long time and just starting to heal. But this thing had happened that night.
Right.
So I thought that was weird. Um I was like, fuck, I gotta tell. I said, "Mom, this is really," I think I even cried. I hardly ever cry. I kept a lot of shit in at my teens. You did too. But I told mom what had happened. I said, and mom says, "Where's that box?" And I said, "Oh shit, it's downstairs on the floor." It just dropped to the floor after I, pegged it at the stairs. She said, "I want you to go grab that box, go outside and catch it on fire, burn it till there's nothing left of it." And so I did. Well, tried to. And no sooner than I was able to make a flame and finally get that thing to catch, it starts pouring rain. Now, again, logic, science, it was just bad timing. So, mom's watching this whole happen. So, mom goes to get the garden. She actually got a tablespoon, and I walk up to her. I get the tablespoon. She's like, "Just dig a hole and bury it." So I did in the rain, and it's still in that yard, I'm sure, if it's not disintegrated. I finally end up telling my grandma what had happened a couple weeks later. And yes, I missed 2 or 3 days of school because of that. That's where I learned how to put on foundation. By the time mom was ready to get me the hell out of her hair and back into school, I still had just a little bit, and I learned how to use my mom's foundation to cover some of that. I told my grandma, and my grandma was just hurt by it. I never got to the point where I said, "I hate you," or anything horrible that came out of me that pushed her away. But I told her the basics. And she felt hurt too. Like, I can't believe you would think I would do that, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't think you did that. But I know what happened. And so I was always a little leery of her because of that. Like, are you practicing shit on me? Like, what's going on? It wasn't until much, much later. This took many years because I could spout it off like yesterday. It took me many years to realize what came for me was not my grandmother. It was the protection she had put in that box for me. And when I had thrown that box at the stairs, whatever was in there thought I was the thing coming for the person she was trying to protect, me. And so when her apparition, her likeness came for me, it didn't have the good sense or mind to know I am the person she's protecting. All it knew was I threw the box. Now, while that makes total sense, and that's what I'm going with, I still don't know.
Astral projection is one of those things that I've never experienced, but apparently it's pretty terrifying. And honestly, I don't think I want to experience that. I'm very thankful that I still have my best friend and that he didn't go super crazy over that experience, and that he's had several experiences since then and knows now how to respond to that astral projection. I mean, really, it does make sense what he was saying about the spirit of his grandma, the essence inside that box. Let me know what you think. Have you had an experience with astral projection? Have you had an out-of-body experience? I never have. I don't even know what that feels like. But to me, that sounds terrifying. I want to thank you so much for being here with me today. Tell me what you think. Leave me a note down in the comments. If you liked my video, please boop that like button. And if you enjoy hanging out, consider subscribing. It really does help the channel. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.